In general, we all know very well who is God, but still often I observe that there's a lot of confusion within the mind of people on this very subject. So the subject matter of God is one of the most puzzling, confusing, and a debatable topic. Often we see in the society that people are hesitant to talk about it. They believe that it is a private subject matter and it should not be discussed openly. And since it is directly connected to the faith of the people, that means we should not touch upon their personal faith. Because at times there can be diversified opinions, people may have different understandings, and if we touch upon their faith, then someone's feelings may get hurt. And that's why people are reserved in discussing about the subject matter of God. So there is a lot of diversity within the mindset of people on this very subject. But if you really go into the details of this topic, then this topic is quite interesting. If we look at it from an open mindset, then we can definitely learn a lot of things from it, and then we can apply them practically in our day-to-day lives. So from the very early days of our lives, we all know that, there is one single supreme being who exists in the form of different energies, and those energies or powers manifest in different forms. Specifically when we talk about our Hindu religion, like for instance, for someone, God can be Lord Shiva, for someone God can be Lord Brahma, for someone God can be Lord Vishnu, or you may call it as Hanuman, Durga Devi, Ganeshi. When we talk about different religions, amongst different religions also, there's a lot of diversity. Again, different people have different perspectives on it, and within the one set of religions also, people have different understandings, and then different interpretations, different beliefs. So there's a lot. So what we should do, what we should learn from them. Okay, so when we talk about, let's quickly run through different religions, what their beliefs are on a very broad level. Then we'll be specifically talking about Hinduism. So when we talk about Catholicism, within Catholicism, people have a belief in one God. So when we say one God, that means they generally accept Jesus as their God. Yes, it is true that there is so much diversity amongst them as well, but on a broader level, we can appreciate and understand the very fact that Jesus is their God. So they have a concept of one God. Then when we talk about polytheism means we have a concept of many gods. In polytheism, people have a concept of many gods. So Hinduism is a very apt example of, many gods. Many people have faith in different gods. And we have an option to pick and choose a specific God based on our likings, based on our upbringing and interest. If we want to worship, let's say, Durga Devi for some specific boon, for some specific benefit, then we can worship Durga. If we want some specific power, then we can worship Hanuman. So there is a lot of diversity. And it's like we go to a shopping mall, and when we go to a shopping mall, we pick and choose different objects. If we like those objects, if we think that those objects are relevant for us, then we just buy them. So it is again based on our likings, interest, and capacity to buy a particular product from the market. So same thing we do with God as well. So if something we do not like, okay, God is there, but it may happen at times that God is there, but He's not fulfilling my needs. He is not fulfilling my desires. He is not really doing justice to me, or He is not giving me what I really want in my life. So this is a mindset, and if their needs are not fulfilled, then they will approach to that particular God, and then they will switch over to some other God with the hope that yes, maybe that God will fulfill their needs. So we have an option to pick and choose a specific God based on our liking, interests, beliefs, and upbringings. So this is called as a concept of polytheism. Polytheism means the concept of many gods. Now within the third category, we have basically among the followers of Jainism and Buddhism, they have a concept of infinite gods. And any individual can become God by some specific, spiritual practices and austerities in their life. So any individual has a choice or the power to become God. They just need to adopt some specific spiritual practices and austerities in their day-to-day life, then they can also become God. So that is why we say infinite God. Like in Hinduism, we still have a limit, there is a limitation on the number of God that we have. But when we say this, other beliefs, when we talk about the infinite gods, then anyone can become a God. You can become a God. I can become a God. Every individual on this world can become God. Yes, it is true that it is not that easy, but yes, anyone can become God. Now, this seems to be quite strange, at least to me, because God is not a subject matter that can be manufactured in a factory and then, anyone can be a God. God exists as God, God remains as God, and He is forever God for all of us. Now, when we talk about Hinduism, even within Hinduism, there is a lot of diversity within the mindset of people on this very concept of God. Now, I'm talking about the people who have faith, some kind of faith, and on the basis of their faith, they practice some sort of spirituality in their day-to-day lives. So in Hinduism, like the first category can be that for some people, God is an energy or a power. And through that energy, the whole gigantic manifestation came into existence and it is practically working for us. And for some people, God is light and everything originates from that light. Everything sustains within that light, and finally everything annihilates within that light. So again, there's a lot of diversity. So first is the energy, the second one is the light, and the third concept is that for some people, their guru is God, and at times they simply keep on worshipping their guru as God. They don't have any genuine regard or understanding for God. They just have Guru as everything in their life and they keep on worshipping. And this seems to me a very puzzling zone, because in this zone, people accept their Guru as God. We'll be discussing about all these points in detail later. And for some people, the fourth category, God is impersonal. Impersonal means God does not have any form. God do exist, but He doesn't have any specific form. So this is the fourth category. And the fifth category, God is a supreme person. When we say God is a supreme person, means He has different attributes and qualities. This is the fifth category. We are discussing the Hinduism. Within Hinduism, we broadly discuss the 5 categories. Now, when we say 5 categories, the first category is God being energy or power. So whenever we relate God with energy or power, that means there has to be some source of that energy or power. Like we give an example, if we are sitting in our house and we all are getting power or the light through which you can access me. So some light is there. Light has a role to play in our house. Light has a role to play everywhere. And this light has a source. That light has been supplied by the government to all the people of this world. So light is being supplied by government to us, and government had made some source through which that light is coming to us. So there is a source through which that light comes to us. So likewise, when we say God as an energy or power, that means there has to be some source of that energy or power. If we just say that God is energy or power, that's basically reflects the limited understanding of the very subject God. We have to go into the deep to understand that yes, there is a source of that energy, and we have to invest our time and energy in understanding who is that source of the energy or power. That's one level. Then second is again God as light. Now if we say that God is light, in fact that also reflects as an incomplete understanding of the very subject matter of God. Light is simply an effulgence emanating from the body of God. So light practically reflects the partial feature of God. So the first one we discussed the God as energy or power. The second one we discussed God as light. And now we are discussing the third subject, which is again a very tricky area. When people say that yes, we are worshipping our guru and our guru is as good as God. We don't need to worship God because we practically do not even know who God is. We have a direct nexus with our guru. So unfortunately, this is a very complex and tricky area because in our society today, a lot of people are worshipping their guru as God. They don't have any genuine regard of understanding God in their life. They are worshipping guru and that's enough for them. So these so-called gurus also simply make fool of the people in the society by not openly declaring that yes, we are simply acting as a representative of God. We are not God. And if you look at all the messengers of God who have presented, the different religions, they always highlighted this very specific fact that yes, we are simply acting as a messenger of God. None of us declared or claimed in any manner that we are God. So acting as a messenger of God and being God, these are the two different things. We may worship our guru on the platform of being God, but still the demarcation remains that yes, guru is guru, God is God. We can give equivalent respect to guru because guru is acting as a via media that helps us to reach God. That is the role of a guru. If a guru is not performing that role, that means guru is simply guru is simply cheating in the society. So we have to be very careful with it. They are themselves portraying that yes, they are God. And once they start portraying themselves as God, then, they even don't introduce the concept of very God. And then they say that, okay, you just simply meditate within yourself and then eventually you will realize everything. We can realize everything only when there is a true foundation of knowledge, and that knowledge has a strong basis. That knowledge comes from the authoritative scriptures, and it is the job of guru to provide that bona fide knowledge to their disciples. Otherwise, our mind is not really intelligent enough to simply assess or just go into the deep and realize that, okay, now I'm realizing God. It will not work like this. The base of knowledge has to be there. So this is the third category. Let's understand the very fact that God has both the attributes. God is impersonal by nature as well as God is personal by nature. God is not just impersonal or God is not just personal. God has both the attributes. He is impersonal as well as He is personal. So when we talk about God being impersonal by nature, that means God is omnipotent, and through His impersonal feature, He exists in every atom of this world. He is there in every corner of this world. Although we cannot really see that feature of God through our eyes, but we do all accept this very fact that yes, God do exist. We do not just believe, at times on the basis of our spiritual understanding, we do realize the very fact that God is everywhere. We know that God is also sitting within our heart as Paramatma. So God is practically everywhere. And how does He is everywhere? He is everywhere through His impersonal feature. So when we talk about God as a person, that means there is a God who has a personal feature, form, nature and attributes. And through that attributes or features of God, we can establish our personalized relationship with God. Because we all have a relationship with God. Since we all have a form, God also has a form. We have been originated from God. Whatever features God has, similar features we have. So as devotees, we are not really interested in the impersonal feature of God. We all are interested in the personal feature of God. Because on the personal platform, we all can nourish our relationship with God. It's like personal relationship when we establish with a person. Because we are personal. We have our existence. It's not just that we have our physical or a bodily existence. We also have our personal existence. Personal existence means on the platform of soul. On the platform of soul also, it's not that we are formless. We all have a form. Okay. Now it may appear to be a little contradictory feature. On the one side, God is impersonal. On the other side, God is personal as well. It is true that both features simultaneously exist in God, but our interest lies in worshipping God in His personal form. We want to worship God on a personal level. And when we talk about this process of devotional service, on the path of devotion, the entire focus is on the personal feature of the Lord. Through service, God reciprocates with us. When God reciprocates with us, then our relationship with God becomes more and more personalized. Because we are constantly contemplating about the qualities of God, how does He looks like, how He deals with His devotees at His eternal place. And that's how that's why even God and devotees both enjoy that relationship. It's not that only God enjoys that relationship. Even the devotees do enjoy that relationship. And our ultimate aim of life is to enjoy our relationship with God and just to disconnect our all other relationships from this world, at least mentally. And to the degree we disconnect ourselves with this world, to that degree we become eligible to establish our relationship with God on a personal level. We are still continuing on God on the personal platform. So the fact is that God has feelings, and we also have a feelings. God on the personal platform, He basically exchanges those feelings with His devotees. God has presence, we also have our presence. God's presence is unlimited, our presence is limited. God resides within His kingdom as well, in His complete bodily feature, and we reside within this world in a very limited form. God is unlimited. Here He is everywhere in His impersonal form, as well as He is there in His kingdom in His personal form. So this is a big contrast between the living entities and God. God has his own, features which we can never compete with. We will always remain part and parcel of God. We'll never be able to compete with the features of God. God is way beyond. Otherwise, at times people think that, okay, we will also become God. We can never become God. Like Srila Prabhupada gives an example in this regard. If you go to, seaside, on the sea, you just take out a glass of water. The glass of water, if you talk about the quality within that glass of water is same like the water of the sea. But if you talk about the quantity can never match. The sea quantity of water is unlimited. But when we talk about the quantity of water in the glass, it's practically nothing in front of the sea. You may keep on taking the glass of water, still you can never meet, you can never come at par in any manner with the water of the sea. So the quantity will always remain different. Quality wise, we can match. The question that we have for discussion is, who is God? We discussed that different people have different belief, and on the basis of their belief pattern, they worship different gods. Some people worship light, some people worship energy, some people worship some impersonal features, some people worship God. Now, when you see the different religions, among different religions, even like we discussed before, that whosoever came in the past, they always stress upon the very fact that, we are here simply acting as a messenger of God. None of them really proclaimed themselves as God. In Christianity, Jesus Christ mentioned that I am a son of God. So he never said that I am God. So he was a true messenger or representative of God. Likewise, Guru Nanak Dev, he never proclaimed I am God. But somehow, when we talk about Hinduism, like we have so much diversity within Hinduism, even within Hinduism also, if you see Lord Shiva, if you see Lord Brahma and other demigods, none of them openly declare themselves to be God. And when you see them, they are mostly busy in worshipping God. That's their special, business. That's the only business that they have primarily. So they are busy in worshipping because they are acting as a servants of God. This is where the big contrast is, that on one side we see a lot of people who follow, different demigods worship, but ultimately these demigods are also acting as a servant of God. And Srila Prabhupada gives an interesting example in this regard, that okay, if you want to worship, then you should focus on worshipping Lord Krishna or Lord Ram or Vishnu. Because if you go into the depth of the scriptures, at least our Hindu scriptures, in our Hindu scriptures, it is clearly defined that ultimately it is Lord Krishna who is supposed to be worshipped. Now again, the question may come that in Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna says that, okay, aham sarvasya prabhavo mattah sarvam pravartate iti matva bhajante ma buddha bhav samanvita. So there Krishna says that everything originates from me. So he is the origin of everything. Then he says that bhoktaram vyagya sarvaloka maheshwaram suharda sarva bhutanam gyatva mam shanti mrichati. So he's saying that I am the controller, I am the enjoyer, and I am the friend of all living entities. So he's openly declaring. And then when you go further in Mattaha Paratara, again in Bhagavad Gita, another shlok that proves the supremacy of Lord Krishna, or that proves that who is God? The answer is coming now, that God is Lord Krishna. He says, Mattaha Paratara Nanyat Kinchit Asti Dhananjaya Mai Sarvam Idam Prokta Mani Sutra Ganaiva. So Krishna is very clear. From one place to another place to another place, he is openly declaring that ultimately everything has come from me. Now what happens in society that, okay, fine, everything has come from Lord Krishna, but what kind of God Krishna is? He is himself declaring that I am God. And God means he should be humble, he should be humble by nature. He doesn't need to declare himself to be God. Sometimes he has to declare himself as God because it is for our welfare, it is for our benefit. Lord wants to make this confusion clear that yes, I am God, please worship me. That's your eternal nature, and that will give you all peace, all happiness, and all bliss in your life. So what is the harm? If God is telling something for our benefit, and if he is declaring to the world at large that yes, I am God, please worship me, there is no harm. Ultimately, it's gonna be beneficial for us. So Krishna is like three things predominantly Lord Krishna has mentioned in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 5, text 29. So he says that first, he is the topmost enjoyer, like the one who can enjoy to the fullest. That person is the supreme powerful being, and Lord Krishna has that attribute. Then he says that he is the controller. Everything is under his control. Everything that's going on within this world, everything that's going on within our life is under the control of God. We may apparently at times think that we are controlling things, or so and so person is controlling this world, or maybe society, but in reality it does not happen like this. In reality, ultimately everything is being controlled by God. That is why Lord Brahma says, Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchidananda Vigraha Anadiradi Govinda Sarvakarana Karanam. And third and most important point that Krishna mentions in that text 5.29, he says that we all are subordinate and we all are part and parcel of God. So being the part and parcel of God, it is the duty of God to take care of us. So that's why he says again there in the end that I am the well-wisher of all living entities. Or in other words, he is a friend of everyone. So he is friend of everyone, and he is always thinking about the welfare of all living entities. So who is God? God is one who is the topmost controller, who is topmost enjoyer, and who is always thinking about the benefit or welfare of all the living entities. And that is what Lord Krishna is openly declaring here in Bhagavad Gita, that yes, he is God. At times people may not like it, but it is not dependent on what we like. It is something that has been factually accepted everywhere by all the authorities within our own Hinduism. It is immaterial whether people like it or not. It is a fact. The fact is not a subject matter that should be liked by everyone. Some people will like it, some people will not like it. It doesn't matter. It does not really matter whether people like it or not. We are here to simply accept the fact. Even in society, at times we see that there are many things that exist. We do not like those things, but still we accept those things because we have to accept them as a matter of reality, as a matter of fact. Likewise, when it comes to the subject matter of God, we may not directly accept the supremacy of God in our life, but let's accept it as a matter of fact. Sometimes fact is more powerful than what we like or what we do not like. In fact, every time in life, fact is more important than what we like and what we don't like. The life is not dependent on the very fact what we like and what we don't like. Life works on the principle of what is fact. We should not be worried about what we like and what we don't like. We should be concerned about what the fact is. And then we should accept that fact as a principle in our life, and we should go on in the journey of life. So with this note, I thank all of you